Hey everybody, Leah Klett here with the Christian Post, and my guest today is producer Ty Roberts. We're discussing the brand new sports drama, You Gotta Believe, starring Luke Wilson. You Gotta Believe is based on a true story about the Fort Worth Little League team. What drew you to this story, and how did you approach adopting such a memorable moment in sports history for the big screen?
It was a story, a true story that happened in 2002. And I wasn't really, I'm not from Fort Worth, but I'm from Austin. I have some sense of memory of something, about that team back in that era. But we had another movie that a Fort Worth sports film that came out about 4 years ago called 12 Mighty Orphans. And um, our writer, my co-writer of that film, Lane Garrison, got pitched the story at the end of that screening, or one of the screenings we had. And he came up to me and was like, "Man, there's a great story. It's a true story. It's about a little league team." Da, 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 da. And he kind of pitched it to me. I was like, "Yeah, man, that sounds cool." Never really talked to him about it after that for, a little while. And he kind of came back and he was like, "Man, I've been talking to all these people." And he got into the nitty gritty of it. And the next thing you knew, it was like there's this amazing, multi-layered story going on about the Little League baseball team. And, this young man, Robert Ratliff, whose father is diagnosed with cancer. And they sort of dedicate this season, their run to the Little League World Series, to him. And it sort of re-inspires the team and gives them focus and meaning and purpose and all that stuff. And it was just like, oh my gosh, you can't really, write that as well as it came out, as it transpired naturally. So he dug in, and about 6 or 8 months later had a script and read it. And it kind of just, hooked you from early on. And was one of those sports films or stories that, has the great basis of sports as they should. And also, a really heart-wrenching story behind it with the story of his father. And them going through the early stages of this cancer diagnosis. And it was just a very touching film, or touching story that I felt needed to become a film, and hadn't really seen anything like that before. So why not? Another Fort Worth sports movie needed to be made, so we were the ones to do it.
Well, and you are behind some of these really uplifting stories. They're about, perseverance and community, dealing with illness. Why make these types of films, though? What draws you to these uplifting stories in particular?
Well, I'm a father. I have two kids, 9 and 11. And honestly, we look high and low for films, good films to watch. And there's plenty out there, but there's always room for another. And so I take it for what it's worth, in that you can never really have these inspirational stories. You can never have too many of them.
Mhm.
And is simple as it is, a good inspirational movie goes a long way with kiddos. And I just felt like it was a good time for it. My son is 11, and he's a sports guy. And I just thought, this would be very fitting for he and I to go through together. And he was actually in the movie. He played a very small role, but a good little role, and had him around. And it was a wonderful journey to take with him. Kino is his name. And I just felt like, it was a story well worth diving into. You dedicate, a few years of your life to something, and it just felt right. I feel like that, even though there's a lot of these type of stories out there, I felt like this one hit home, and really sort of drove in the message on a very deep level. And it was fun, and humorous at times, but also just very touching. And for me as a father to think about that, and think about our impermanence, and what would happen if you found out you had a set amount of time to live. And how would you act as a father, and how would you parent your child, and what would you teach them, and what would you do? And they were all very interesting, deep questions that any parent would consider being faced with, having to tell a story like this. and so it drew you in on multiple levels. So I like that, and I like children's films and sports movies that you can sit down and watch and have a good time with, with the entire family, and that's important. I feel like we had a very wide net that we're able to cast, and hopefully we do.
Yes, well, absolutely. What type of response have you heard from audiences in, pre-screenings of the film?
We've screened it only to the inner circle, and it's all been very positive. I've spoken to a few different journalists who've watched it and had very kind words. I think the proof will be in the pudding in about 2.5 weeks on the 30th of August. It'll hit screens across the nation, so that'll really be able to define how it goes. But I think it's a good time for a sports film.
Mhm.
Also, the Little League World Series starts next week, I believe. So the timing for that was obviously planned. And I think it's just something that we could all certainly use right now. And it never hurts to go into a movie and come out with a endearing smile and make them laugh, make them cry, as my good friend Tito once said. And it's very true. If you can hit the range of emotions, I think it really helps a film and its longevity. And we just hope to remain one of those great kids movies in the test of time, and hopefully we'll have a lasting run here at the theaters. So we're very excited to see what happens.
Be the next Sandlot. Never know.
Well, those are big shoes to fill. Very, very great film. My son and I loved it back before this project came along. We had the joy of working with Patrick Renna, who was a wonderful actor to collaborate with. He brings a little Sandlot um, vibe to this to some degree. And, it was a 30-year anniversary actually when we shot last year. And
Wow.
yeah, coincidentally. And, he came in for a few days and played his scenes and got to meet all the boys and was very inspirational to all our young players on set, and had some great stories, and just a great guy. So we got lucky there, and he's been helping get the word out too, and been nothing but a gentleman trying to help this little thing succeed. So it's an indie at its heart, man. It really is. We're just Texas guys that put this thing together, and we've got a national deal to get it distributed. So we feel very lucky, and we'll see how the kind of hometown boys can do.
Well, and you really have such a fantastic cast. I mean, just really beautiful. You're so set up for success with this movie.
Well, thank you. I tell you what, I worked with Luke Wilson a couple times before, and he was our lead in our last film, 12 Mighty Orphans. And when he accepted the offer and got involved and really loved, he's a sports fan, so it wasn't too hard to twist his arm. But we were thinking about, who could play John Kelly, and Greg Kinnear came up, and he was like, "Oh, Greg, he's a buddy of mine. We play golf and did a movie together." And it's like it was meant to be, because their synergy together is on screen and off screen is fantastic. I mean, they're buddies hanging out, cutting up, laughing. It really helped me set the tone with the kids, and they were both very approachable and helpful with getting them into line. And it was just a great energy on set with them. And of course, Lou Temple, who plays one of the coaches, he was a former Astros catcher, so he really brought on a lot of expertise in terms of what we were doing and how we were setting up shots and whatnot. And we also had a couple of great sports or baseball consultants as well. um, and Molly Parker played Kathy Kelly. Sarah Gadon played Patty Ratliff. Both amazing actors. Really just a couldn't have had a better cast. And not I can't even go into the boys. There's too many of them. But Michael Cash and Etienne Kalichi, they're two young up and coming stars in the making in my view. Everybody did such a great job. There's just a number of young talent that we were able tap into, and that I think have great futures. So we're very excited to get them out there. Some guys that have never really acted before too. So very excited about that. That's always neat.
Well, Ty, what do you hope families take away from this movie? I have a 6-year-old baseball player, and I know I'm going to take him to see the movie, but what is your hope for families when they watch this movie together?
Well, as much as we hear it, without something to dig into and really get behind, and to have that sort of belief and faith of something, that something can happen beyond all odds and uh, difficulties. You just really, you got to have that foundation of belief that I think you really need to tie into in a situation like this, whether it's your father's illness or a parent's illness, or going to the World Series. I mean, there's not a sports enthusiast or player out there who won't speak of it. I mean, you've got to believe in yourself first and foremost. And we've heard it and seen it a lot, but we can never get enough of it. Just coming out of the Olympics, you watch these interviews, and all the athletes just are always so thankful, and to either their family or loved ones, or whoever it is, for their support and believing in them, and talk about stories about when they were down and out and weren't at their best, what brought them out of that and what gave them the inspiration to keep going, and to have that self-belief is just like so important. And I think we all tap into it. I certainly do as a filmmaker. I'm sure every person does in life, and we can never get enough of it. So hopefully it's an added dose, and people can walk out and have a sense of you know belief in themselves and others again, and just really be inspired to get out there and do something. Any challenge that they're going after, you just got to keep going and plugging away. Can't ever give up.